This is John Romero making me his sex slave. John Romero. John Romero tied me up. First, he invited me to dinner. He said, come to dinner. John Romero contacted me on OkCupid. This is what John Romero did. He contacted me on OkCupid. And then he said, you have a beautiful body and some wonderful eyes, and your eyebrows are really alluring. And I said, oh, John Romero, you seem like a stand-up dude. Maybe we can go to dinner. And John Romero said yes. And John Romero took me to dinner, and he showed up in a stretch limo that had LEDs on the bottom, and he opened the door of the limo, and his hair was flowing. And as the door of the limo opened, the wind outside blew into the limo, and his hair went whoosh, whoosh, like Fabio on a cliffside. And he took my hand and he pulled me into the limo, and he said, now we shall go to dinner. And I said, okay, John Romero. Okay, John Romero. And he gave me a glass of vodka and cranberry with a little cherry inside. I was like, thank you, John Romero. And he said, oh, I care about the gamer. So I poured you a drink before you got inside. And I bought you this rose. And John Romero gave me a rose. And I said, thank you, John Romero. Thank you. And then we went to dinner, and John Romero took me out to a fancy restaurant. I had a whole fried fish. I ordered the surf and turf, and John Romero didn't even bat an eye. And he bought us drinks, and he tipped well. And throughout dinner, he told me little stories about his development career and how popular he was. And he would interject little things about me that I thought were nice. He told me how good I looked. He liked my thoughts about his games. He was very nice to me. I thought throughout dinner that John Romero was very good about me. He paid attention to me. He liked who I was as a gamer. He respected me. And then, after dinner, we got up, John Romero paid the check, and he tipped handsomely. We got back in the limo, and John Romero leaned over to me. He put one arm around me, and at the same time that he put one arm around me, with the other arm he flicked his long locks over his shoulder, like Fabio would do on a beach, and he said, I want you. And at that, my limbs stiffened. I wasn't sure what to think, and then he said, John Romero whispered in my ear, and he said, I want your flesh. And now I became scared. I became scared of John Romero. And the limo zoomed through the darkness. And as we went faster and faster and faster, John Romero's hands became clawier. And they felt me up more and more and more. And then the limo went through a waterfall. All of a sudden we were in a cave. Like the Batmobile of Batman, whatever the one that Tim Burton made. And the Batmobile went through, and Tim Burton was like, John Romero was like, damn you, I want you now! And John Romero pulled me out of the cab, threw me into his dungeon of sex and lust, and he goes, no, I'm going to make you my bitch! And he threw a controller in my hand. And he made me play Daikatana. And he sat in the corner watching me play Daikatana, and he was jerking off. John Romero was jerking off furiously. It's like, play Daikatana. I'm going to make you my bitch. And and then he came. And John Romero looked at me afterwards, the sweat pouring from his forehead and his hairy chest, and he goes, I'm so sorry. I'll buy you a cab. And I looked. And that was the time I met John Romero.